So I face oppression from different sources. Okay, many different sources. Now, when it comes to exposing them, okay, I expose them in order of like what's going to keep me safe. So so I address evil, to keep me safe, and then if it's not going to affect my safety, I also address it to try to establish love, okay? And if somebody else's safety is at risk, I try to reach out, but if it's going to negatively impact my safety, okay, I have to handle that differently. Now, so I address threats depending on how they affect my safety. Okay, I address oppression, stuff like that. So, facing oppression from many different sources, I have to decide what I'm going to address. Now, speaking of, let's put it in terms of prostitutes, and then I'll go put it in terms of politicians. So, say there's a prostitute that's trying to make murderous accusations against me. She's threatening me with murder. She's trying to rape me. She's trying to take ransom from me. She's trying to gather pimps to try to carry out threats towards me. She's trying to gather other prostitutes to facilitate her false accusations. So there's someone like that. So there's a prostitute, you know, um, say there's a prostitute in my immediate family, and there's a prostitute, a distant family member, you know, uh, this distant prostitute doesn't offer any kind of like support towards me and stuff. Like, like if there's a prostitute in my immediate family that is like murderous and stuff, um, but it's better for my survival to address the other prostitute as opposed to the one in my immediate family. Now, I don't concede to either one. I don't say either one's good. I don't say I trust either one. I don't say, like, I don't make false accusations against good people. I don't join them in their evil. None of that. But as far as like me walking around with my head down to the floor around one of them as opposed to the other where I'm directly trying to, expose them actively, like, you know, I have to decide who I'm going to address, like, as a matter of what is more threatening to me. You get that? So, like, say this prostitute in my immediate family, offers me housing and food and, stuff like that, but they're still like evil. They still treat me and other people horribly. Okay, they still try to defame my character and they inhibit me from, being respected and getting hired for things and, it, like stuff like that, like getting a relationship, getting accepted into a school. Like they still inhibit these things with their blasphemy. But it's different than this other distant family member that also does those things and maybe carries out more imminent murderous threats towards me. Maybe they have like, like maybe they have like different kinds of pimps that they're sending after me or different kinds of prostitute colleagues that are, trying to murder me, accuse me of things. Um, so, I handle things as a matter of the threat towards me. Am I going to expose my immediate family of their evils, or am I going to expose these other people that are even more of a threat? Am I going to expose people in my community, or am I going to expose foreign entities that are trying to be at war with the nation or something? Like, am I going to expose, deciding on what you're going to focus on, and like if you're going to be able to address it at all. Okay, you never stop trying, but, like, so when it comes to politics, okay, so like Am I going to expose the Democrat candidate or the Republican candidate? Like, you don't want to. So, say I expose my immediate family member, okay, as opposed to this other prostitute. And then this other prostitute uses the ammunition that I just exposed to, like, eliminate my immediate family member. And it puts me in a position of, now I'm still being attacked by this other prostitute, and I've lost, you know, I've lost like safety. So, if I expose the Republican candidate, and then the more dangerous Democrat candidate uses the ammunition, or like the vacancy that I created if the Republican candidate gets arrested, like they use that, um and then I'm in a more dangerous situation. Like I would need to expose the Democrat candidate and then try to address the Republican one later. Like, if I could do them both at the same time and be safe, I want to address all evil instantly. Like, I want all the evil gone now. But there's a way that I have to do this depending on like the circumstances. So, I do focus more on exposing Democrats than Republicans because of the dangers. Okay, I do focus more on exposing certain prostitutes as opposed to others, and certain criminals as opposed to others, and depending on the dangers. Now, I don't ever go around um, excusing evil. I don't ever go around joining evil. I don't ever go around joining them in their false accusations against good people. Okay, none of that. It's just I might have to walk around with my head down to the floor. Like, say Donald Trump's a bad person. Okay, say like if I'm in a room with Donald Trump and he's a bad person, okay, I might have to just have my head to the floor and not say anything, as opposed to me being in a room with Gavin Newsom if he's, well, as opposed to me being in a room with Gavin Newsom, okay, maybe I'll say something. So, like, if I'm walking around with my head on the floor, I might not be doing that with certain evil people as opposed to other evil people, depending on how it affects my safety. Okay, I want you to understand I'm never joining the evil. I'm never acting like it's not happening. I'm just not speaking. Okay, I'm not looking at it. Like, I'm not doing certain things. Okay? Like, I'm talking about people literally trying to murder me. So I'm never going to concede to the evil concepts. Okay, but I might just not talk. Or I might talk about something else. Okay? And when it comes to exposing certain individuals or groups, I might just not talk or talk about something else. Others I might expose. Like, so, like, am I going to expose the Muslims first? Or am I going to expose the Christians first? Like, am I going to expose the Democrats or the Republicans first? Am I going to expose, some prostitute that's like which prostitute am I going to expose first? Like, the one in my immediate family, some other one, like, like, am I going to expose the biker gangs first, or am I going to expose the Mexican cartels or whatever, the Central South American cartels first? Like, am I going to expose the what? Am I going to expose the blonde hair, blue eyed racist women first? Or am I going to expose, like, or am I going to expose, you know, or am I going to expose the black men that they might be sexualizing first? Like, the racist black men that they might be sexualizing first. Like, them saying that their blonde hair, blue eyed genetics make them more attractive, but they are only attracted to racist black men. Like, just nonsensical, enraging things like that. do I expose the monarchies, and like the stuff with like emperors and stuff? Do I expose that first? Or do I expose the communism first? Like, do I expose savagery or do I expose suicide first? Like, do I expose the college that I go to first, or do I expose some other college first? You know, do I expose abortion or religious terrorism first? Um, do I expose male or female prostitutes first? Do I expose Fox or NBC first? Do I expose homosexuality or asexuality first? Do I expose uh, transgender mutilation first, or do I expose religious-based circumcision or like preferential circumcision? On like a parent has some kind of aesthetic preference or something. I've heard something like that before. Like, do I expose the circumcisions first, or do I expose? I mean, obviously there are medical-based circumcisions, but the other kinds of circumcisions first, or the transgender mutilation first? What health issues do I address first? Like, like, okay, I might have to like not address things, focus on some things. Maybe I have to walk around with my head down, like when it comes to certain scenarios, and like I can actually address other things and other people, but I can't ever join the evil. So I wanted to talk about that. Um, like my priorities of what I need to address, and that I'm not ever joining evil or excusing it. Okay. Like, I can't be giving the more dangerous evil ammunition against this lesser evil, if it's going to be dangerous. Like I can't be giving the Democrats ammunition against the Republicans. Okay, I might not be able to give some distant family member ammunition against an immediate family member. Even though they both might be evil. Like, okay, just things like that.